Welcome to another edition of GLP's 10 out of 10. And today we have with us London-based Tupac Martir. Tupac is an artist and the founder and creative director of Sator Studio. Vogue magazine has described him as the visual designer and creative director behind some of the most important events in the world. Tupac lived in Mexico City for 7 years, where he learned the basics of theater design whilst working at the Mexican Opera House and on a whole variety of different events. He then became the art director of MTV LATAM in Mexico before moving to London in 2008 and setting up Sator Studio. He's provided production designs, visuals, and lighting direction for the likes of Elton John, Beyonce, Danny Boyle, Coachella Music and Arts Festival, and the Serpentine Gallery in London. Tupac is renowned within the fashion industry and has worked on groundbreaking shows for Alexander McQueen, Chino, Alexander Wang, and Thomas Tate, amongst others. More recently, he directed and produced the award-winning performative reality piece, Cosmos Within Us. Welcome, Tupac Martir.
Hello.
How are you?
I always find it funny when you hear like all the stuff that you've done, because I don't think you ever think you've ever done that much.
When it's all condensed down into like a short little piece.
Looks great.
That's a 20-year span or a 30-year span. Wow.
Yeah.
It does add up. It's a distinguished career so far. I'm sure there's much more to come.
I still think I will have a way more to go, but yeah.
Yeah. The journeys are just beginning.
Yeah.
So welcome to 10 out of 10, where we've got our 10 questions that we're asking everybody and seeing what kind of answers.
I want to say I'm sorry for my hair and my beard and everything. As you know, no one has able to, and I just kind of gave up on myself grooming. So.
Well, at least I'm sure. I heard you put pants on today, so I'm grateful for that. Thank you for that.
Although I think there's a race between my the ball that I sit in and myself on who's getting fatter. It's like the horizontal Olympics.
Right. Brilliant. That's a new sport. We'll add that into the summer games. Right then, let's kick it off. Start with our first question. What was your first show as a designer?
So I was thinking really hard about this. My first show was in this tiny little theater in San Miguel de Allende in Mexico, with I want to say like 8 park cans, and I mean, it got to the point that I actually it was a flamenco piece, and I eventually gave one of the dancers a parkan to move and to like dance with a parkan while the other dancer was in there, so I could get the right lighting, because it was impossible to actually light that moment. But I had another, actually, when I think about that show, it was brilliant. I did so many like clever things without me knowing that they were clever. So just thinking of okay, physically and artistically, visually, it looks very interesting. So there was one moment where it was 2 girls, and they didn't want to be seen, but they wanted their feet to be seen. And it wasn't like, okay, let's cover you up, and then we can just, because there was no way of bringing stuff in and out. So we ended up dressing them completely in black, and all the hair pulled back, and I ended up putting 2 Source 4s at the bottom on Congo blue, and then 2 Source 4s at head height, cut literally that big and that thin, so that their faces could barely skim. But obviously, if they both came in at the same time, one was lit from that side, one was lit from the other side, because the light wouldn't get through to the other side. But then I asked them to wear white socks, very Michael Jackson. And then therefore their shoes and their feet could be seen. And then their hands and whatever they wanted to do could be seen, and their faces whenever they wanted to. But they could be dancing at the front with their body just a bit back, knowing that the light was crossing through, and therefore they couldn't be seen, and then coming around. So we did a bunch of those little kind of games across the entire show, and it was actually quite fun. I look at it and it's like, yeah, I literally had 8 parkans, but it was what we did with the 8 parkans and the few Source 4s that actually made it quite interesting.
That's the point. That's where obviously the creativity comes about, and it's not just it's never about just the technology. It's the creativity makes all the difference.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. What a great way to start your career.
Yeah. Who knew? At the time, I was just like, light was just something that I thought was fun.
Yeah.
You know, it's just it was, you know, I was more, I used to be more, I used to work more on set. So I just thought lighting was like a cool thing to learn to do things. And then it just took in his own little world.
Fantastic. So obviously we mentioned before, you've had a fantastically long career so far. Is there one kind of memorable, like, Spinal Tap moment, bit where it didn't quite go to plan?
There's so many of those. But the one that comes to mind, and it's not, I don't know if it's a fully Spinal Tap kind of thing, but there's a building in Mexico that at the time, I'm talking 2003, I think it was opening, and it has something like 100 floors, you know, so it's like, you know, it's high, and we were doing the opening of the whole building. You know, so we had this stuff down there, and then stuff in the middle, and different floors, and then eventually, obviously, the roof, the top floor was like this massive event space where they wanted to showcase how to make an event with that. So we ended up doing this thing, and the night before the show, like the opening ceremony, we were working really late, but obviously the building was not functional at that point for anybody.
Right.
And so therefore, the security forgot, or no one told him, that we were still up there. And so at around 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, when we finished working, we start calling the elevators. And they are not on. And so there was that moment we all thought, right, we got two options here. Either A, we sleep in this floor, because it is concrete way up there, you know, there's some couches or whatever, but we sleep here and we wait until tomorrow morning to go home, shower, and then come back to do the rest of the day of the show before the show happens. Or we actually walk down 100 flights of stairs. Knowing that it's Mexico City's traffic, we knew that there was no way we could do that. So we ended up walking down the 100 flights of stairs. Now, I'm not saying I'm the fittest person in the world, but I sort of made it. My assistant at the time, the following day, could not walk.
Oh, wow. That's 100 floors is a long way down.
It took us like 45 minutes.
Right. I bet the security guard was shocked when he saw you come through.
But not only that, but you know, the thing is, because you're walking down, you just like, and this, like, you think that you're going to, like, you know, to hell, or you're going, you know, you're going to limbo, or whatever, because it's like, you look down and you look up, it looks exactly the same. You don't know if you really walked 20 flights of stairs down or not. When there's 100, you just kind of go, well, I think we're, you know, where are we? God knows, you know, we're, you know, it wasn't used. It's not like every floor had, you're in this floor, you know, they were still building those elements. So it was just, yeah. It was the weirdest thing. At some point, we kind of wanted to give up and just like walk into another floor. But you're going, what am I going to walk to?
Right.
There's no furniture. There's no.
The elevators still aren't going to work.
Yeah, exactly.
Brilliant.
I kept on waiting for somebody to say, "I forgot my keys" or something.
Right. Out we go again. That would have kept you fit for sure.
Oh God, yeah.
So over your career, what's the best piece of advice that you think someone has given you, either, you know, professionally or otherwise?
As designers or as an industry, you know, there's obviously, with all this going on, there's a lot of stress on a lot of designers. There's a lot of stress on companies. There's a lot of stress on people, and sometimes it feels like the night's never going to end and we're never going to see the light of the day. And you know, and I think it's good to know that everybody's in that position, that, you know, that you're not alone, that there's that all of us as an industry are taking care of each other whenever needed, you know, and that all you need to do is reach out, because if you reach out, surely, you know, everyone's going to pick up the phone, because everyone has had a moment in which they doubted what the hell was going to happen. And you know, I think it's important now to support each other. and to know that that there's somebody there willing to listen to. I will say put an arm around your shoulder, but that's a bit hard right now, and no touching, but at least
a virtual hug.
Yeah, but at least to listen and to know that that we are all here.
Yeah, no, that's true. I think the collaborative and the community spirit within our industry is something that really helps at this time. And you're absolutely right. Anybody can reach out, and people will pick up the phone. People will help and support each other. And it's always nice to know that the friendships that exist are very strong.
Yeah, and they go beyond, you bought my light, I bought your light, your music, whatever. It's about being a unity. I keep saying that I one thing that I fear the most about all this thing is the amount of people that we're going to lose to other industries, because people need to put food and a roof over their families. And unfortunately, some of the best technicians, some of the best production guys that we know will end up having to take a different job that will put what they need to put for their families, but they will miss the side of it. And I think it's important to to acknowledge that, and to to be helpful for each other.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. Support each other. Be nice, be kind, love, all of that.
Rewind.
There you
go. We don't rewind movies anymore, but yeah.
Right. Yeah, that just does that. Rewind. Right then. Back to our next question. Professionally, in your career, what's your proudest achievement so far?
I think I can almost divide it into professionally, or as I would call it, as a design for somebody else, or as a design for myself. And I'm very, very proud of the stuff that we make as a studio. The stuff that is, I'm proud of the shows that we do, and I'm proud of the artists that we work with, and the things that we do with museums. And I'm very, very proud of those things. I take massive pride on what develops behind this wall.
Right.
But also I know for a fact that the stuff that we've developed in-house, the way that Nierka and Hiku and now Cosmos, they are such different pieces that have opened new conversations about what it means to be working on that medium. Right. To all of a sudden see that people go, what in the world is that? I've never seen it. I've never, it's I always go back to that moment when Black Tracks worked for the first time, and Nigel came to get me, and he just looked at me with this face of going, I finally understand what you're talking about. I can see the future of the industry in my, I've seen the birth of something new in the industry, and that was amazing, And then with Hiku and a lot of the things that we did technological ways to bring all this data at the same time, to render in real time things and tweets, and and to create spaces within the projection that hasn't existed before. And then in Cosmos, with this bring of technology and gaming and VR and live entertainment, and putting them together and actually mashing them in a way that actually tells a coherent story, and seeing it going from 4 people to 150 people, just all those things, you go, we are initiating new conversations of what is possible in these new mediums. And we're creating new mediums, and that is it's fantastic. It fills me with joy to see what when we create a new workflow, a new pipeline, just when people realize that they're gonna go insane.
That's brilliant, because it is that combination of pushing new boundaries and incorporating technologies that haven't been incorporated together before. And the creativity that comes out of the studio is pretty special. That's for sure.
Yeah, so I think that's the professionally, that moment of the opening day of Nyaka, you know, and seeing everybody just go wild with the screens, having, you know, shifting and all that kind of thing, you know. And in Hiku is when we were in the helicopter, and we're looking and we could see, you know, all these people watching across the city, and it's just like, and then in Cosmos, obviously, you know, the moment that you have someone like Laurie Anderson come out of it and just go, that was like, I have no words, you know. What do you say to that? Like, here's one of the greatest artists of our generation, and she's just like, this is insane, you know. Those moments just gonna go, you know, the tears of people coming out of Cosmos, and then the hugs that they give you because of how they feel, that like that those emotions, you cannot replicate them. You cannot understand that your creativity is allowing other people to finally find something within themselves that they didn't know existed, and to reach out to them and make them like, that is just, it's amazing. It's the reason why I do what I do.
Keeps pushing you forward to do new stuff. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and for anybody who hasn't been familiar with any of those pieces, I absolutely recommend that you do some searching and have a look at the website and understand the full depth to which Tupac and his team go to. It really is phenomenal. So, okay, we've had obviously a number of weeks now, a number of months now, with a change to our daily routines. What do you normally do in your downtime?
So before lockdown, funny enough, I backed a bicycle company, you know, like one of those Kickstarters or whatever you want to call it, and they gave me my bike about a month before lockdown, and because of my travel schedule, it just kind of sat in the studio without being built. And then when we announced that we're going to close it, and I was like, well, I need, you know, something easier, blah, blah. So we built the bike. And so most of the times in my downtime, I because once again, I don't leave my square mile, you know, like I live in this square mile between my house and the studio, with the supermarket in between. And so I just kind of grab my bike and I just go around the quay. You know, I live in a really nice area of town in London, where there's no really anything, like no roads, no cars or things like that. So I'm able to just go around the water and be by the Thames on my bike.
Right.
And that's and then, you know, and when it's a shitty day, usually I just sit down and read and listen to the radio. I love the radio. You know, I carry the radio everywhere I go. Usually, even if I'm in New York and I'm in LA or I'm in Japan or whatever, I always tune to the same radio station, because it just makes me feel for a little bit that I'm at home, and that you know, it's as that nurturing voice of remembering something. So yeah,
gives you a little rock to hang on to.
Yeah,
the turbulence that's when it's going
which
on.
in a certain way, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I travel so much, I'm so used to working with my team on Zoom. I'm so used to working with my team via digital. And so in that sense, my perception of my daily life hasn't changed, because I just felt that I was traveling and that they were working from the studio, you know, like that sense of it. So yeah, but now obviously it kind of, we inverted the places. They were working from home and I'm working in the studio. But having that radio, that moment, that just kind of settles me into my daily routine every single day.
Right. That's good. As you mentioned, you've traveled across the world, and obviously worked in a variety of different places with the clients and the shows that you've created. Do you have a favorite venue anywhere?
I do, and actually, it's not going to be what everyone thinks. So it's not a big arena or a big theater, or I don't even know if it's a famous place anymore. But I liked it from my touring days of, you know, of medium-sized venues. And I think I just liked it because it was right in front of Wrigley, because it's right in front of Wrigley Field, you know, the Metro, in Chicago.
Right.
I like where the front of house position is. I look how close it's to the stage. I love the I remember doing the Feint there, and there was this thing where the band can see us, and because we're surrounded by all the people, you're getting, like you're dancing and sweating, and and obviously the band sees you and they get really excited, and so the crowd gets really excited, which gets you really excited, which then gets you jumping, and then the band can see you so close that they get excited, and it just becomes this really nice cyclical thing of energy that is just being passed around by everybody. And and like I said, it's not probably not one of the greatest venues in terms of what it has in house and all the tech and all that thing, but the sensation of being one with the audience,
right?
It's something that I really enjoy out of that venue.
Yeah, something special there, and certainly something that we're missing at the moment.
We're missing, yeah, of course. Right now we're working on something that's going live tomorrow night, and we did a test last Saturday, and we had our desks ready, and we're patching our show file and doing all these things, and literally the moment that Elliot came in and just started playing music, and it just started coming out, and we're moving faders and doing things and clicking cameras and all that, and it's just like, I'm back on doing a show. This is amazing. So much.
I miss this so much.
I miss that so much. Yeah.
No, that's true. I think that's a sentiment certainly shared by everybody,
including
the audience members. So.
Yeah.
So you mentioned about listening to the radio. Now, do you also have a particular artist or a particular album or a particular piece of music that you couldn't live without? Let's say we had to do this again. Is there what's the one that you take with you?
Well, I mean, anybody has ever heard any of the Spotify lists that I make knows that it just kind of goes here, there, and everywhere. But I would think it's probably it's probably something from Godspeed You Black Emperor.
Okay.
Just because of they're long songs and they take you through different spaces and moments and and that kind of thing, and it's I think it will probably be something from them.
Right. Good choice. Winding back, if you could go visit the teenage Tupac,
oh God,
and could give one piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
Pay more attention than you're in economics class. God knows I went through that one, yeah. I mean, I think so. I think it's one of those things of, I went to art school, and unfortunately and I went to a lovely university in Omaha, Nebraska, Creighton, and I love my professors and I love my education. I love everything that I learned in that place. But I do think that there's an element of that bit of, they never tell you how to handle money. They never tell you what's going to happen. If I think about it, when I was going to school, my sole goal was to be either a professional footballer or a professional artist. And, but you always get told that as an artist, there's no money and you never see any money. So there's almost like no point in learning about economics properly. And little did I know that, 20 years later, I have a company with 24 people working on it. And, and thank God I have people that know how to run a business. But, but there's a moment when we were growing that there wasn't that person, and it landed on me, and I was making decisions based on my gut rather than based on actually knowing something. So I think it would be something along the lines of take even if it's an online course for, 2 weeks or a week or whatever, to learn your basics about what it is to run a company, what it is to deal with the economics of something like this. Just even if you're a freelancer, and obviously right now it's kind of hard because there's very little money going around, but but when it does come, I think that's the one thing that I would tell myself. Granted that if I saw myself and I heard myself say that, I would pretty much give myself the middle finger. But yeah, that's it.
What are you talking about, old man?
I'm going to be a painter, man. I'm going to be a painter.
So you're the type of youngster that wouldn't listen anyway.
Yeah, I wouldn't listen.
I don't think you're unique in that situation. All right. So now, if you could sit down with any one person for, a cup of coffee, glass of whiskey, cigar, something like that, living or dead, who would you choose to just spend a little bit of time with?
Probably there was a Mexican artist in the 1930s, 40s, 50s, 20s to 50s, part of the muralist movement in Mexico, called Jose Clemente Orozco, who out of the muralist is actually the less well known to the general public. Okay. Diego Rivera is obviously the most famous one. Mm-hmm. Then you got Siqueiros, who's like the second one, and then there's Orozco. But I actually have owned quite a lot of notebooks that he used to do. I don't think I have any money anywhere in the world, but like those things are worth, not much, but the knowledge inside those books is amazing. And this is a man who understands perspective in a way that it's incredible. And then you learn that he only had one eye. And so his entire understanding of geometry, and space actually comes from mathematics and breaking down the space about how it's seen, and then breaking it into squares and triangles and the dynamic lines of the space that you're looking at and how those dynamic lines actually work within the space. And then once you figure out those lines, he will go back to his sketchbook and figure out which drawings from his sketch actually fitted what he was doing. And then he will go in and treat the gesso and pre-paint the gesso with a little bit of a tint of the color he wanted underneath it. So that even if he didn't paint it, there was always a base color already existing in the painting. Right. And
it's remarkable.
Yeah, and a lot of my technique in painting actually came from that. I used to treat my canvases that way. I used to create this kind of base color as an element that then I will build everything on top of. And when I think about the way that I light, it always is that thing where I create a base color, a base element, a base kind of like fog, in which even if I have no light, there's still some sort of dynamic that exists between the element that I am lighting or the element that is being highlighted and so my negative spaces, although they are negative, never feel negative because of that kind of tint that I put into it. Right.
There's always some level of detail there.
Exactly.
Right. Interesting. Very fantastic choice. Fantastic choice. All right. And as if, by magic, here we are at our last question. This is a bit of a fun one we throw in to see what everybody says. So in a few minutes, you're going to get a call from the British Olympic team, and they're going to call you up. Now, it could be for the summer games or it could be for the winter games. The question is, what sports are they going to ask you to take part in?
Oh, that's easy.
Yeah?
Yeah, because obviously, so I can't run the 100 meters. Right. I can roll them. I don't know if I can run them. There's no chance I'm going to do the marathon. Shot putting is out of the way. Okay. I'm too fat to get on the horse. There's no chance of me going in the pool because they're going to call me Shamu or something like that. I'll see a little kid running out, free willy.
Right.
So summer's out of the way. Yeah. So there's no chance. So I think curling will be my game.
Curling, perfect. Are you going to be the one throwing the stones, or the one with the?
Hey, I'm Mexican. I'm so used to doing it.
You clean up around the office anyway, so put a brush in your hands and it will be perfect. Right. That's a brilliant choice, curling, and it's absolutely a proper Olympic sport.
I have no idea, but it's great that curling is an Olympic sport.
Yes, that's true. Tupac, that's a fantastic answer to close everything out with. Thank you so much for your time. It's been fantastic to hear you obviously share your knowledge, share your passion about everything that you do. Good luck with the show you mentioned tomorrow, and look forward to catching up with you again in person soon. Thank you.
Let's hope so, man. I'm looking forward to it.